The biggest wealth transfer in American history has begun. What if I told you the most important financial event of your lifetime has already started, and almost nobody is talking about it? No alerts, no countdown, no moment where the world stopped and said, pay attention. And yet right now, the largest transfer of wealth in American history is unfolding in real time. Not billions, not a few trillion, more than $80 trillion, quietly moving from one group of people to another. And whether you become richer or poorer over the next decade depends less on how hard you work and more on whether you understand what is happening right now. Here's the question that should already be forming in your mind. If this much money is changing hands, why does it feel like life is getting more expensive, harder, and more unstable for most people? That question is the key. Because wealth is not disappearing. It is concentrating. And by the end of this video, you will understand exactly where it's going, who is positioned to win, who is guaranteed to lose, and what separates the two. Let's start with the truth most people misunderstand. This is not just about inheritance. This is not just parents passing money to children. This is a systemic transfer, a transfer driven by demographics, debt, inflation, asset repricing, and policy decisions that most people never vote on and never fully understand. The baby boomer generation controls the majority of wealth in the United States. Homes, stocks, businesses, land. Over the next 20 years, as this generation ages, retires, and passes on, more than $80 trillion will move out of their hands. But here's the part no one explains clearly. That money is not handed down neatly. It moves through systems, through housing markets, through stock markets, through taxes, through healthcare costs, through debt repayment. And every system it passes through takes a cut. This is why most people never feel the benefit. Instead, they feel higher prices, higher rent, higher interest rates. So again, the question, if all this wealth is moving, why do you feel like you're running faster just to stay in the same place? The answer is inflation, but not the simple definition you hear on the news. Inflation is not just prices going up. Inflation is a transfer mechanism. When new money is created faster than real productivity grows, that money flows first to assets. Stocks, real estate, private investments. Asset owners see their net worth rise. Wage earners see their purchasing power fall. Nothing was stolen from you directly, but everything you earn quietly buys less. This is how wealth moves upward without anyone needing to break the law. And this brings us to the most uncomfortable truth of all. The biggest losers of this wealth transfer are not careless people. They are responsible people. People who saved cash, people who avoided risk, people who followed the rules they were taught, but the rules changed. And the game did not stop to explain it. Saving cash used to be safe. Today, cash is a melting asset. Debt used to be dangerous. Today, strategic debt is a weapon. This is why two people with the same income can experience completely different financial realities over the next decade. One understands the transfer, the other ignores it. Now let's talk about where the money is actually going. Look at housing. Home prices did not rise because homes suddenly became better. They rose because excess money needed somewhere to hide. Real assets protect against inflation. Capital always seeks protection. That's why institutional money moved aggressively into housing, land, and private markets. Not because they love homes, because they understand cycles. When uncertainty rises, money moves from productivity to preservation. This is why you feel locked out. You're competing not just with other buyers, but with systems designed to absorb capital. Now, here's the psychological trap that destroys most people during wealth transfers. They wait for certainty. They wait for clarity. They wait until things feel safe again. But wealth is never built when things feel safe. By the time an opportunity feels obvious, the upside is already priced in. The biggest mistake during every major wealth transfer in history is standing still. Because standing still is not neutral. It is a decision, and it is punished by inflation. So who wins during moments like this? Not predictors, not gamblers, but positioners. People with liquidity, people with patience, people who understand time. They don't try to guess the future. They prepare for multiple outcomes. They own assets. They control leverage. They think in decades, not months. And this is where Tier 1 economies create a dangerous illusion. Comfort, stability, the belief that tomorrow will look like yesterday. But stability is never permanent. It is rented, and the rent is awareness. Every major wealth transfer in history punished complacency and rewarded preparation. This one will be no different. So ask yourself this honestly. When this transfer is over, when the dust settles, when the new winners are obvious in hindsight, will you say, I saw this coming? Or will you say, I didn't think it would affect me? Because it always affects everyone, just not equally. This channel exists for one reason, to help you see shifts before they become headlines. If you want to stay ahead of what's coming, subscribe. The next decade will not reward effort alone. It will reward understanding. The biggest wealth transfer in American history has already begun. The only real question left is this: are you positioned or are you exposed? And to understand what comes next, you have to understand one hard truth. Wealth transfers don't happen overnight. They unfold slowly, then suddenly. For years, nothing seems to change. People go to work, pay bills, save a little, complain about prices, and then one day they look back and realize something irreversible happened. They're working just as hard as before, but ownership is farther away. Freedom costs more, and the gap between those who own assets and those who don't has quietly exploded. This is not accidental. Every major wealth transfer in history followed the same pattern. First, money becomes cheaper. Interest rates fall, debt expands, assets inflate. People are encouraged to borrow, spend, and consume. Then, when the system is saturated with debt, rates rise, liquidity dries up, and those who understand the cycle begin buying what others are forced to sell. This is the phase we are entering now. And this is why understanding matters more than optimism. Most people are taught to think about money emotionally: fear, hope, regret. But wealth transfers are mechanical. They follow incentives, they follow policy, they follow math, and math does not care how hard you work. It only cares about positioning. This is why owning productive assets matters more than saving currency. Currency loses value when systems are stressed. Assets absorb value. That is not an opinion. It is historical fact. Now let's talk about debt, because debt is where most people get confused. They are told debt is bad, and for consumers that is often true. But for systems and institutions, debt is leverage. Debt allows tomorrow's money to be used today. And when inflation exists, future money is cheaper than present money. That means debt holders who understand the system benefit, while savers quietly lose purchasing power. This is why governments, corporations, and institutions are never afraid of debt the way individuals are. They play a different game. And this brings us to the media narrative. You are constantly told the economy is either strong or weak. Markets are either healthy or broken. But those labels are distractions. The economy can look terrible for workers and incredible for asset owners at the same time. Both can be true. And during wealth transfers, that is usually the case. This is why headlines feel disconnected from real life. You hear about market rallies while groceries get more expensive. You hear about record profits while layoffs increase. That disconnect is not confusion. It is the transfer in motion. Now let's talk about time, because time is the most underrated factor in wealth creation. Most people think in months, markets move in years, wealth transfers move in decades. If you only react to what is happening right now, you will always be late. Those who win think ahead. They ask different questions, not what is happening, but what does this lead to? And right now, what this leads to is a reshaping of ownership, homes, businesses, capital, access. Ownership is consolidating, not because people are evil, but because systems reward scale, liquidity, and patience, and punish fragility. If this sounds unfair, that's because it is. But fairness has never stopped a wealth transfer before. Only awareness changes outcomes. So where does that leave you? It leaves you with responsibility, not panic, not fear. Responsibility. Responsibility to learn. Responsibility to question narratives. Responsibility to stop assuming stability is guaranteed. Because the worst position in any transfer is ignorance, not poverty. Ignorance. Poor people who understand systems can move up. Comfortable people who ignore them move down. That is how transfers reorder society, quietly, relentlessly. Now ask yourself this: are your financial decisions designed for the world you hope exists, or the world that is actually unfolding? Because hope is not a strategy, and denial is expensive. Understanding gives you options. Options give you leverage. And leverage is what separates those who survive transfers from those who are defined by them. The biggest wealth transfer in American history is not coming. It is already happening. Every year you wait to understand it, you pay tuition in lost opportunity. So stay curious, stay skeptical, and most importantly, stay positioned. Because the next decade will not be forgiving, but it will be revealing. And those who understand what you just heard will never look at money the same way again, because awareness changes behavior, and behavior compounds. Now let me be very clear with you. Nothing in this video was designed to scare you. Fear fades. Understanding stays. The goal here is simple: to help you see the financial world as it actually operates, not how it is advertised, not how it is simplified, and not how it is sold to you. Because once you understand the mechanics behind money, debt, inflation, and ownership, you stop reacting emotionally. You start making intentional decisions. And that alone puts you ahead of most people. If this video helped you connect dots you hadn't connected before, subscribe to this channel. Not because it guarantees profits, not because it offers shortcuts, but because staying informed is no longer optional. The next decade will reward people who understand systems and quietly punish those who rely on assumptions. If you know someone who is working hard but falling behind, share this with them, not to alarm them, but to give them context. And finally, ask yourself this question honestly. Are your current financial decisions aligned with how the world actually works, or with how you wish it worked? That question will shape your future more than any headline. The biggest wealth transfer in American history is already underway. Understanding it won't make you rich overnight, but ignoring it will cost you time you can never get back. Stay aware, stay curious, and stay positioned. That is how people survive and quietly win during moments like this.